The 9,836 meeting of the Security Council is called to order. The provisional agenda for this meeting is maintenance of international peace and security. The agenda is adopted. The Security Council will now begin its consideration of item 2 of the agenda. Members of the Council have before them document S/2025/33, the text of a draft resolution submitted by Greece and the United States of America. The Council is ready to proceed to the vote on the draft resolution before it. I shall put the draft resolution to the vote now. Will those in favor of the draft resolution contained in document S/2025/33 please raise their hand? Those against? Abstentions? The result of the voting is as follows: 12 votes in favor, 0 votes against, 3 abstentions. The draft resolution has been adopted as Resolution 2768, 2025. I now give the floor to those members of the Council who wish to make a statement after the vote. I give the floor to the representative of the United States.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, last January, this Council adopted Resolution 2722, which underscored the importance of the exercise of navigational rights and freedoms of vessels of all states in the Red Sea, and unequivocally demanded the Houthis immediately cease their attacks on merchant and commercial vessels. The Houthis have not heeded this resolution, and in recent months have launched additional complex attacks against vessels in the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aden, and surrounding waterways. These attacks threaten international peace and security with negative implications and impede global commerce and flows of humanitarian assistance. In addition to extending the requirement for reporting by the Secretary General under Resolution 2722, today's resolution reaffirms our condemnation of Houthi actions and reiterates the Council's demand that the Houthis cease these unacceptable and increasingly sophisticated attacks. The resolution also reaffirms the importance of all member states adhering to the arms embargo under Resolution 2216, including to deprive the Houthis of weapons, training, and all other equipment they need to carry out these attacks. Extending this reporting and including information on the weapons we all know Iran is supplying the Houthis will help ensure that the Security Council has accurate and timely information to inform its deliberations over how best to address Houthi actions going forward. And it calls on the Houthis to release the crew of the Galaxy Leader, who continue to be held against their will. Colleagues, attacks on any vessels in the Red Sea, regardless of origin or ownership, are entirely unacceptable. Arguing otherwise risks legitimizing clear violations of international law. We must continue to uphold the free flow of commerce in one of the world's most critical waterways in accordance with international law. That was the charge before us when we adopted Resolution 2722 in January, and the resolution before us today will help reinforce those efforts. The threat to navigational rights and freedoms in the Red Sea is a global challenge and necessitates a global response. With this resolution, the Council will once again send a clear message to the Houthis to cease these attacks immediately. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the representative of the United States for the statement. I now give the floor to Greece.
Thank you, Mr. President. Greece is joining the United States as co-pen holder in this important Security Council resolution with a strong sense of responsibility and the belief that through collective engagement with all member states, the Security Council can raise a unified voice for stability in Yemen and the Red Sea region. We extend our sincere gratitude to outgoing co-pen Japan for the serious engagement and support demonstrated in the 2 years tenure on this matter. We express our appreciation to all member states of the Security Council for their open and constructive contribution to this resolution. Mr. President, maritime security and freedom of navigation in the Red Sea is under extreme pressure. Houthis' constant attacks against vessels are still disrupting international commercial shipping, exposing the vulnerability of supply chains and impacting heavily global trade lanes. These attacks have a direct impact on us all. Maritime security conditions remain degraded and are expected to further deteriorate, while rerouting of shipping companies continue in favor of safer but costlier alternative maritime routes. Furthermore, we are still witnessing Houthis' ongoing aggressiveness and escalatory actions through launching unjustified attacks with the systematic use of advanced weaponry, such as anti-ballistic missiles and drones, even against civil infrastructure, including all terminals under the control of the government of Yemen. The humanitarian repercussions are also severe. We need to put an end to this by looking thoroughly into the origins of the use of advanced weaponry and by preserving the applicability of the targeted arms embargo as established in Security Council Resolution 2216. Greece, as a maritime nation and a leading force in the EU naval operation Aspides, will contribute to upholding the respect of maritime security, freedom of navigation, and protection of seafarers in full compliance with international law. The lives and well-being of seafarers must be an unconditional priority and always be protected. We hope that the resolution adopted today will be a strong call by all member states of the Security Council for a comprehensive and inclusive political settlement in Yemen as the only path towards peace and stability in the region. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Greece for his statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Somalia.
Thank you, Mr. President. As a nation deeply invested in the security and stability of the Red Sea region, we have voted in favor of the just adopted resolution. Today's vote reflects our deep commitment to maritime security in the Red Sea waters that are vital to our region and global commerce and stability. As one of the member states responsible for maintaining maritime security, we understand the gravity of the current situation and its implications. We are gravely concerned about the maritime attacks in the Red Sea and its economic, humanitarian, security, and environmental implications. Resolution 2768 represents a positive step, but its implementation requires careful consideration of regional sensitivities and realities. We must remember that the security of the Red Sea is also fundamentally linked to the stability of its coastal states and the broader peace process in the region. As a nation that has experienced the devastating impact of maritime insecurity, we recognize that lasting solutions must address the root causes of these conflicts and fully respect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of coastal states in the Red Sea. Somalia is committed to working with all parties to achieve these objectives. We believe that the security of the Red Sea must remain primarily the responsibility of its littoral states, but with robust international support and cooperation. To conclude, Mr. President, Somalia has recently reaffirmed in our trilateral discussions with Egypt and Eritrea, we are committed to enhancing cooperation and strengthening our collective security framework to address the maritime insecurity of the Red Sea and beyond. The path forward requires patience, wisdom, and unwavering commitment to diplomatic solutions. We must avoid actions that could lead to further escalations while working tirelessly to address the legitimate security concerns of all stakeholders. We are ready to work to ensure that the Red Sea remains what it has been for millennia, not just a vital maritime corridor, but a bridge of peace and prosperity connecting nations and people. I thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the representative of Somalia for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Russian Federation.
Mr. President, the Russian Federation abstained when voting on the draft prepared by the Greek and American colleagues, the draft on the situation in the Red Sea. Let me start by saying that this document is a logical extension of the original Security Council Resolution 2722, and we had serious questions about that resolution. The idea underpinning it, ensuring the safety of navigation in waters off Yemen, including the Red Sea, is something that overall we do support, but its practical implementation unfortunately did not live up to expectations. The resolution today is put together in a manner which is imbalanced and politicized. And the most important thing here is that the American and Greek proponents are painting a one-sided picture. And if you were to judge this situation in the waters off Yemen only using the text of this resolution, that you would be led to believe that the only destabilizing factor in the region is what is being done by Ansar Allah. The language in the text leaves out the most important aspect of the situation on the ground, namely the aggressive military campaign led for more than a year now by the so-called international coalition led by the United States and the UK against a sovereign country. The bombings of Yemen continue regularly. As a justification for their illegal actions, Washington and London are using the self-same infamous Resolution 2722. And this is despite the fact that they were told numerous times that its provisions cannot be used in this case, and one cannot refer to the right of self-defense here under Article 51 of the Charter. Mr. President, Russia is not justifying what is being done by the Houthis. We condemn any steps that prevent freedom of navigation in the Red Sea, and we call on the leadership of Ansar Allah to show restraint and not allow escalatory steps which compound this situation in the region, including the waters off Yemen. But for fairness' sake, we must state that over the recent several months, the frequency of Houthi attacks on commercial vessels has lowered. In the most recent report of the Secretary General on this, it is stated that in December 2024, the attacks on commercial vessels were not at all. But what was happening regularly was the strikes by the coalition of the United States and their satellites. We do not understand the logic of our American colleagues here. On the one hand, they call on the Council to work together, state that they are committed to using diplomatic methods to have a settlement in Yemen, talk about how important it is to make sure that Yemen receives humanitarian assistance. On the other side, they continue attempts with plunging the country into chaos and making sure that the work of humanitarians is very difficult. Last week, on the 10th of January, for example, the so-called International Coalition and Israel conducted a strong coordinated strike on Yemen. Sana'a was strike, coastal cities Hodeida and Rasisa as well. The ports there basically stopped functioning, their victims, and it is not clear today what kind of consequences this bombing will have for future humanitarian assistance in Yemen, if it's going to be possible at all to continue with them at scale. And this means that the ordinary Yemenis, women, children, and the elderly will suffer from these actions. As the outcome of their confrontation with Ansar Allah, the US and the UK not only did not obtain the declared goal, the safety of navigation in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, but they introduced a considerable degree of instability into this region. Moreover, they de facto became parties to the Yemeni conflict. How does this correlate with their statements that there is a need to normalize the situation in this Arab state? Everything at the same time points to the fact that the military potential of the Houthis as a result of the United States aggression and its satellites is not undermined. Washington and London have to understand that there is no prospect for their misadventure, but they prefer explaining the military sustainability of Houthis by the supplies of advanced weaponry from abroad. In conclusion, we would like to recall here that the normalization of the situation in the Red Sea is impossible without the stabilization of the situation in the area of Israeli-Palestinian conflict. We all understand that. The demands of the international community remain the same: immediate, unconditional, and permanent ceasefire, the release of all hostages and detainees, restoring a full and unimpeded humanitarian assistance into Gaza. All of this should make us seek a sustainable and just solution of the Palestinian issue on the basis of two states and in line with the known Security Council resolutions. I thank you.
I thank the representative of the Russian Federation for his statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Panama.
Señor Presidente.
President, I would like to thank the missions of the United States and Greece for presenting the resolution that we have adopted today. We wish to reiterate a message that we made clear during the deliberations on the situation in Yemen. As a maritime nation, we strongly reject the way in which these attacks have compromised the free transit of vessels, and this has a direct impact on global supply chains. The Republic of Panama, through its efficient, neutral administration of the Panama Canal, wishes to reaffirm its commitment to maritime security and respect for sovereignty and international law. And we urge all parties to uphold the right to navigation as a fundamental principle of international law. With the adoption of Resolution 2722 last year, this Council took on the responsibility to ensure the upholding of international law and maritime security, bearing in mind the regional situation that currently prevails in the Red Sea, a zone that is essential not just for economic development and smooth international trade, but also for peacekeeping in the region. However, the reiterated attacks that we have seen throughout last year have made clear the urgent need to strengthen this Council's resolutions. The systematic continued attacks on commercial vessels cannot be justified. That is why we call for respect for the United Nations Charter, international law, and the provisions of this resolution, and these attacks must immediately cease. We trust that diplomatic efforts underway in the Middle East will be able to definitively lead to an end to these clashes and to pave the way for a lasting end to these conflicts. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Panama for his statement. I now give the floor to the representative of China.
President, China abstained in the voting of the draft resolution just put to vote. I would like to explain China's position as follows. First, for some time now, the Houthis have been attacking commercial vessels in the Red Sea and its nearby waters, interfering with the normal order of international trade, destabilizing the global supply chain, and negatively affecting regional peace and stability. China expresses its concern over this. The right of commercial vessels of all countries to navigate in the waters of the Red Sea in accordance with international law should be respected, and the safety of navigation channels in the waters of the Red Sea should be safeguarded. The Houthis should heed the concern of the international community and stop attacking civilian vessels. Second, the U.S. and U.K. military operations against Yemen have been going on for a year now, causing serious civilian casualties and infrastructure damage. Recently, the Houthis and Israel are in frequent attacks of each other, escalating tensions as a result. This series of developments demonstrates that focusing only on vessel attacks is not sufficient to resolve the dilemma facing Yemen and the Red Sea. China calls on all parties to show restraint, promote de-escalation, and seek a comprehensive solution. During this process, the sovereignty, security, and territorial integrity of Yemen should be respected, and attacks on Yemeni civilian infrastructure must cease. Third, the tension in the Red Sea is a significant manifestation of the spillover of the Gaza conflict. We regret the just adopted Council resolution fails to clearly indicate the correlation between the situation in the Red Sea and the Gaza conflict. At present, there has been significant progress in the Gaza ceasefire. China welcomes such progress. We hope that the realization of a durable ceasefire in Gaza can help create favorable conditions for calming the tense situations in the region. Thank you, President.
I thank the representative of China for his statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Denmark.
Thank you, Mr. President. Denmark voted in favor of this resolution, and we welcome its adoption. We commend the pen holders, the United States and Greece, for their efforts and for their open and constructive approach throughout the negotiations. Today's resolution will ensure that the Security Council continues to receive regular reporting on Houthi attacks on merchant and commercial vessels in the Red Sea, a key matter of which this Council must remain actively seized. As is often the case in this chamber, today's adoption of the product is a product of compromise for everyone. During the negotiations, Denmark supported stronger language emphasizing the threat of the Houthis' continuous attack in the Red Sea against the provision of humanitarian aid, as well as the marine environment, as clearly highlighted by the attack of the MV Sauvignon tanker last year. Despite this, we believe that the resolution sends a strong signal. It demands that member states stop arming the Houthis and prevent them from acquiring arms to carry out further attacks. More must be done to enforce the arms embargo and hold the perpetrators accountable. Mr. President, Denmark is a small country, but we are a large maritime nation. We remain committed to ensuring the freedom of navigation and the stability of global supply chains in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden for the benefit of global trade and development. It is essential that the international community continues to uphold the free flow of commerce in one of the world's most critical waterways in accordance with international law. Neither state nor non-state actors can be allowed to take that freedom away. Today's adoption sends a clear message, a message of firm condemnation of the Houthi attacks for which there is absolutely no justification. They must stop. Thank you very much.
I thank the representative of Denmark for the statement, and I now give the floor to the representative of Sierra Leone.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sierra Leone thanks the co-pen holders on the resolution 2768, Greece and the United States, for their efforts on a critical issue with implications for the maintenance of international peace and security, and for their positive engagement and consultations during the negotiations process. Sierra Leone stated previously last January, and will reiterate today, our belief that the Security Council should pronounce itself in a unified voice to protect maritime security, navigational rights, and the freedom of all vessels of member states in the Red Sea. Further, in several of our statements in this Council and on this agenda item, and on the situation in Yemen, we have condemned the Houthis' attacks on maritime vessels in the Red Sea. In the broader context, we have also called for efforts to support the Yemeni peace process and expressed concern about the ongoing regional dimension and escalation. Sierra Leone therefore voted in favor of Resolution 2768 in view of the principle to protect the navigational rights and freedom of vessels of all member states and the threat posed to seafarers owing to the current situation in the Red Sea. We welcome the changes made to Resolution 2768 in relation to member states defending their navigational rights, which, in our view, is consistent and must be consistent with international law, and ensure that the Council has the primary responsibility to maintain international peace and security. We note the reference in operational paragraph 3 of the resolution just adopted, the need to address the root causes of this attack. In this regard, we welcome the announcement of a deal to secure ceasefire and hostage release in Gaza. We echo the words of the UN Secretary General and call on all relevant parties to uphold their commitment and ensure that the deal is fully implemented, in our view, in line with international law and resolutions of the Security Council. Let me conclude by reiterating the need for all stakeholders to ensure that this resolution is effectively implemented, not only to save lives, but also to ensure maintenance of maritime security in the region of the Red Sea, which is essential for the stability of global supply chains and economic development. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Sierra Leone for his statement, and now give the floor to the representative of Guyana.
Thank you, Mr. President. Guyana voted in favor of the resolution renewing the reporting request for the Secretary General to provide monthly reports on Houthi attacks on vessels in the Red Sea until 15 July 2025. We thank the United States and Greece for their efforts. Guyana believes that the reporting mandate created by Resolution 2722 is an important contribution to maritime security in the Red Sea and to addressing the negative impacts of the Houthi attacks. Establishing the facts on the ground is important for accountability, whether that accountability comes now or in the future. Additionally, Guyana welcomes the inclusion of new language on the use of advanced weapons by the Houthis in their attacks, an issue that was raised in the latest Yemen Panel of Experts report and which warrants the attention of the Security Council. Guyana would have welcomed the inclusion of a reference to the environmental impacts of the attacks in the Red Sea, as indicated in the report of the panel of experts, as well as the impact of the attacks on the provision of humanitarian aid to the people in Yemen. These elements were supported by many delegations, and it is regrettable that they were not taken into account. Nevertheless, Guyana welcomes the adoption of the resolution, as it allows for the continued flow of critical information on the ongoing security situation in the Red Sea. Finally, we express our commitment to working with all Council members in addressing the security situation in the Red Sea and the wider Middle East. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Guyana for the statement, and I now give the floor to the representative of Slovenia.
Thank you, Mr. President. We welcome the adoption today of a resolution which renews the Secretary General's reporting mandate on Red Sea attacks, and we thank US and Greece for their efforts as penholders. We continue to condemn Houthi attacks in the Red Sea, which undermine international maritime security and jeopardize critical flows of food, fuel, and humanitarian assistance. We call for their immediate cessation, and we furthermore call for the full implementation of Resolutions 2140 and 2216 regarding Yemeni sanctions. We also reiterate our serious concerns about the potential environmental impact of such attacks, made evident by the recent situation with the MV Sunion tanker, which threatened a significant oil spill in the region. We regret that this aspect could not be reflected in the current resolution and hope to see it incorporated in future texts. And finally, President, we join others in expressing hope about the positive news coming from the region. We welcome the ceasefire agreement between Hamas and Israel. It is a long overdue step that will allow for the return of hostages and offer a glimpse of hope to the people in Gaza. It will enable delivery of much-needed humanitarian aid. We must intensify our efforts towards lasting peace and a two-state solution. We commend the mediators who contributed to this important breakthrough. A ceasefire is a first step towards peace between Israel and Palestine and for the region more broadly. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Slovenia for the statement, and I now give the floor to the Republic of Korea.
Thank you, Mr. President. Republic of Korea voted in favor of this resolution. First, I'd like to express our gratitude to the pen holders, the United States and Greece, for their efforts in preparing this resolution and facilitating cooperative engagement of Council members. The Republic of Korea also appreciates the constructive efforts made by co-pen holders to reflect the escalating tensions in and around Yemen since last year. As a peninsula country surrounded by the sea on three sides, and a nation whose commercial vessels frequently navigate the Red Sea, we have great interest in this important issue. Indeed, the Houthis have continued reckless and lawful attacks in the Red Sea and beyond, while posing serious threats to the freedom of navigation and maritime security. The use of advanced weapon system by the Houthis is increasingly linked to regional instability. In this regard, we welcome that today's resolution successfully emphasizes the importance of implementing the arms embargo, reflecting escalating tensions driven by Houthis' ongoing hostilities and concerns about the advanced weaponry they are using. Today's adoption of this resolution also sends a clear message from the Security Council that we are closely monitoring all developments on the ground. To conclude, we would like to reiterate that the Council must strive to ensure the full implementation of all relevant Security Council resolutions, including the targeted arms embargo. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the representative of Republic of Korea, and I now make a statement in my capacity as the representative of Algeria. Dear colleagues, the abstention vote expressed by Algeria today is consistent with our previous vote last year on Resolution 2722 and Resolution 2739. My delegation's decision to abstain on this resolution should not be interpreted as a reservation regarding the Secretary General's monthly reporting on the situation in the Red Sea, nor as a consent for the attacks by the Houthis on merchant and commercial vessels. In the contrary, we continue to value the relevance of such reporting and to recognize the importance of maritime and regional security, freedom of navigation, and safety of seafarers. Rather, our abstention reflects our concerns about the implementation of Resolution 2722 and what we believe as a misuse or a misinterpretation of the right to defend by conducting attacks on territories of sovereign countries. Colleagues, we believe it is crucial to uphold international law and ensure that actions taken in the name of navigational rights and freedom do not infringe upon the sovereignty of countries. Moreover, we emphasize the need to be factual by explicitly referring in this resolution to the devastating situation in Gaza as a root cause, or at least as a trigger of the current tensions in the Red Sea and the broader region. We cannot stress enough the importance of the full implementation of the ceasefire in Gaza that has just been concluded. And we hope that this deal will pave the way to the easing of access of the humanitarian aid to the Palestinian population in Gaza. In conclusion, we continue to urge maximum restraint and dialogue to prevent further violence, ensure regional stability, and save the Yemeni people and the entire region from additional suffering. A Yemeni-led and a Yemeni-owned peace process, grounded in agreed political settlement frameworks, is more crucial and urgent than ever for achieving lasting regional peace. I thank you. I resume my function as President of the Council. There are no more names inscribed on the list of speakers. The meeting is adjourned.